The first WCW show of 2001, ladies and gents. Thunder's taking place on January 3rd. We're in the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. About 14 people are in the arena tonight, so it is an improvement, but only 3 people are watching at home. And WCW kick off the new year with Team Canada having a conversation backstage. Lance Storm says things are moving forward for the group now that Mike Awesome's joined up. Apparently Mike has a surprise waiting outside, but Major Gunn says she doesn't want to go outside because it's cold. Yeah, as you can see, she definitely covered up tonight due to these harsh weather conditions. We go outside and Mike presents his brand new bus. We'll call it the Canadian Coach because someone has to be creative for WCW. And Mike says it's great, before the group head into the building. Someone who is ready for the harsh January weather conditions is Nature Boy Ric Flair. The CEO's making his way down to the ring. So let's have a listen and let's see what nonsense gets booked for this week's episode of Thunder. As soon as Rick opens his mouth, he tells a lie. He says we're live tonight, pal, but this show was taped on the 22nd of December. He lies again when he says WCW's the best wrestling organisation in the world today, and he scores a hat-trick when he promises to give us a great show tonight. Flair reminds us about the mystery man who's going to compete at Sin. He then says Scott Steiner's currently serving a 2-week suspension for being an idiot, but getting suspended when there's no live show sounds like a bit of a cop-out to me. Though Rick hopes Scott's going to be a bit more mellow when he returns to work on Nitro. I don't think so, mate. Rick gets interrupted by Jeff Jarrett. The chosen one heads to the ring and Jeff says he's sick of hearing about Scott Steiner and Scott's obsession with the mystery man. Everyone's forgetting that Double J's included in the upcoming title match at Sin, and if Flair doesn't tell Jeff who the mystery man is, well, the CEO's going to be wearing an acoustic equalizer before the end of our show tonight. Rick says nah, Double J doesn't tell Rick what to do. Jeff confirms that this is a threat and not a request, so Flair makes life difficult for Jeff by booking him in a main event match. If Jarrett loses this main event, he also loses his spot in the Sin main event. And tonight, Double J's facing this man, Big Sid Vicious. Sid gets in the ring, Jarrett gets out. And Flair says Sid's getting this opportunity because the big man had Steiner beat at Starrcade, but the referee didn't make the count. A replay on the Turnertron proves it. Sid says he's going to take Jeff's spot. He quotes Downtown Bruno once again when he says, "Mama says it be that way sometimes." So that's our Thunder main event booked, and seeing as the outcome of the match could change the Sin pay-per-view, I'm actually glad I'm covering this episode. 3 Counts music plays in the arena, and out comes Sugar Shane Helms. Did you know if you put 3 Counts theme music into your CD player, turn the volume right down, and then put on Dark Side of the Moon, it actually syncs up perfectly? Go give it a try. Sugar Shane's facing Jamie Knoble tonight as Jamie looks for a little revenge after our last episode of Thunder, and Shane brings the pain at the opening bell, and he's showing off a bit too much after a back elbow. Noble sends Shane up and over the top rope. On the outside, he performs a head scissor takedown that sends Shane into the guardrail. In the ring, Jamie performs a nice diving clothesline that knocks the sugar right out of Shane, and he follows up with a back suplex. Shane's going to show off again. Noble gets sent to the outside, which allows Helms to pull off a somersault senton, and it's going to take Jamie a pretty long time to get himself back in the ring. He wants to go upstairs after knocking Shane down, but Shane gets back up and Jamie takes a top rope gut-wrench suplex. Can't help but think that the in-ring action isn't going to get much better than this tonight, and I'm trying to make the best of it. Jamie takes a few leg drops with Shane adding a little pizzazz before leg drop number 3. We then see a unique abdominal stretch with Jamie locked in a double underhook. This position does allow Jamie to counter with a backslide, but he takes a punch to the face for trying to be smart. Too much showboating allows Jamie to make a brief comeback, but it wasn't enough. Shane goes for the Nightmare on Helm Street, but Jamie counters with the Northern Lights. Jamie gets up and Shane ends up pulling off his Vertebreaker followed by the Nightmare. The Vertebreaker is such a better move, honestly, but still, Shane gets the win, and here comes Evan Courageous to attack Shane after the bell. Shane takes a neckbreaker. Shannon comes down to get revenge for his tag team partner, which results in Jamie hitting him with a tombstone. Noble pays for this by taking another Nightmare on Helm Street, so here comes Chavo Guerrero to smack Shane with his cruiserweight belt. The match was alright, but we have seen better cruiserweight encounters over the years. Again, this is probably the best it's going to get tonight, so bring on the bullshit. Remember Elix Skipper and Konnan having that stinker on the previous episode of Thunder? Well, Konnan called Skipper a stinker because his breath's so bad that K-Dog's actually looking forward to Elix's farts. Elix pushes Konnan falls right into the Team Canada trap when Mike Awesome attacks, and after the beatdown, Skipper asks Awesome for the keys to the Canadian coach. Guess Skipper wants to earn a few quid on the side. Next up, we've got Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire, hell yeah, taking on Corporal Cajun in the Wall, hell no. There's only so many AWOL matches I can talk about before I legitimately go insane. Mike Sanders says he fixed Nash and DDP's travel arrangements so they won't be at Thunder tonight. Way to go, moron. And he calls Hugh Morris general reaction before telling the MIA's leader to beat it. AWOL and Cajun didn't know who their opponents were going to be tonight. The natural-born thrillers are playing up to the fact that it could be any two of the four men in the ring who face the insiders at Sin, but it ends up being Palumbo and O'Haire who wrestled tonight on Thunder. They perform a slingshot suplex on Corporal Cajun, and O'Haire gets in a few cheap shots behind the referee's back, though the Corporal comes back with a springboard facebuster before Sergeant AWOL, the greatest WCW superstar in history, comes in with a big boot. Palumbo gets dropped on the mat again before the Sergeant starts biting on his forehead. AWOL tags out again because he feels he's done more than enough to earn his paycheck tonight. Lash delivers a power slam before trying to make his partner work a little by tagging him back into the match, but seconds later AWOL tags in LaRue again. So Lash begrudgingly carries the match by delivering a jumping back elbow, but when he tries to hit the ropes, Sean low bridges him. It wasn't much of a low bridge, seeing as WCW's ropes are made of stone, but you get the message. Palumbo pulls off a Chris Jericho springboard dropkick. This allows the other thrillers to beat up Lash on the outside. AWOL does his best to keep control in the ring, but there's not a lot he can do here. The Shanton Bomb scores another win for the natural-born thrillers, and after the bell, Hugh Morris has to fight off Sanders and company. Chavo Guerrero runs down to seemingly help Hugh Morris. Shane Douglas also shows up to get his hands on the General, but his attack was very brief. The thrillers end up backing off alongside the franchise, so this nonsense between Chavo and the MIA is going to continue on. Absolutely nobody was talking about the trials and tribulations of the Misfits in action back in 2000. Nobody cares about these guys, and all they do is make me irrationally angry. K-Dog can't believe he fell for Team Canada's trap. He's usually way smarter than this, but Rey Mysterio has a plan. We take a commercial break. Rey's now got a big paper bag, and he says he's got the, quote, sticky icky, meaning he just bought the biggest bag of mean green he could find in Nashville. Hey, smoking your troubles away would probably be the best course of action right here. Those Canadians are a bit dangerous. Chair on a pole match, ladies and gents. Crowbar versus the man called Meng. It's still pinfall or submission. When the chair gets retrieved, both men are allowed to use it. So tell me, faithful viewers, what's the fucking point? The Scream Queen Daphne does her thing on the outside while the crowd try to pay as little attention as they possibly can. Meng gets his neck snapped on the top rope and Crowbar comes back in with a slingshot splash. Crowbar's first attempt at getting the chair is unsuccessful and Meng makes him pay by shoving his fingers up his nose. But Meng's attempt at grabbing the chair also fails, and this allows Crowbar to perform a DDT. Meng's fluffy mullet protects him from danger though. It's like a soft cloud on your head at all times. Unfortunately, the afro doesn't cover much of Meng's neck, and when Crowbar performs a neckbreaker, he's able to grab the chair. He doesn't get a chance to use it. Instead, Meng performs an electric chair drop, and when Crowbar grabs the chair again, it gets kicked in his face. How come wrestlers have no issues at all going outside and using chairs, but when one gets put on a pole, it becomes super difficult? The chair falls outside, Meng grabs it, and Crowbar performs a baseball slide. It's ironic that another chair that was sitting at the corner of the guardrail is used offensively and effectively by Crowbar when he tries to choke out Meng. Meng gets the knees up though, and Crowbar tries a Vader bomb, and after Meng fights back, Paisley and Daphne scuffle over the chair. This match is absolutely terrible. Daphne loses her pink wig, and when Meng performs a Samoan drop, Crowbar once again loses the chair. Meng sets the chair up in the corner. It looks like it's in a good position for a great spot, and that spot ends up looking crappy, seeing as Crowbar's head totally missed the chair when Meng performs a stun gun. With mercy, our match ends with a Tongan death grip, and you know, the guys were pretty much hampered by the silly match stipulation here. Victims of WCW's silly booking. I've been banging on for ages about how chair shots in WCW mean absolutely nothing anymore, so putting a chair on a pole almost seems like a bad joke. Jeff Jarrett's having a good think about his match against Sid tonight. He's trying to get in the zone, I assume. Kicker be kicking. Mark Jindrak comes out for a surprise match. He doesn't know who he's facing, so let's play a game. Will it be A, an exciting new WCW superstar, B, Goldberg, or C, Glacier? If you said Goldberg, you've been watching this series for way too long. Billy Boy comes out to kill this promising young talent, and is there even any point talking about this match? Is there anything I can really share with you that will make you appreciate the match, get curious about the match, or is there even anything I can say to make the match more enjoyable? No, there's nothing I can say that adds any kind of value to your viewing experience, but Goldberg catching Jindrak in midair was pretty sweet. Kinda. But that's the only thing of note that happened in this match. Spear, jackhammer, Goldberg wins, and you get what you pay for. Speaking of which, fans have to pay if they want to see Goldberg teaming up with Dewayne Bruce. It's sin. That in itself is a sin. Goldberg cuts a post-match promo with absolutely zero substance, saying that Sin's 11 days away and totally buffed Ernest. I don't know what it is, because usually I don't mind seeing Goldberg steamroll through his opponents, but today I feel a bit annoyed about it. Maybe because the victim's a young guy who was trying to break through, but if we go back in history, we could probably say that about lots of Goldberg matches. The fun doesn't stop here though, folks, because now we've got Ernest Miller versus Reno, and if you think that's bad, we've also got Ginger referee overseeing the match. Miller has no idea why he's fighting Reno tonight. He wants Mike Sanders and he tells Reno to get out of the ring or he's gonna call his mama. Credit where it's due, this was kinda funny, but what isn't funny is Miller immediately turning his back afterwards and opening himself up for a tasty cheap shot. Reno chokes Cat out in the corner. Miller replies with some well-placed karate kicks. Reno goes outside where he admires Miss Jones and her assless chops, but here's a little secret, guys. All chops are assless. Miller attacks from behind when Jones whiffs a kick. Back in the ring, Reno tries to impress the audience with a fireman's carry, but trust me, he didn't impress anyone. Ginger Ref tells Reno to do better moves or he'll DQ him for sucking so hard, so he tries an exploder that gets countered with a roll-up. And when we go back to the hard camera, fans have legitimately turned their backs to the ring so they can chat with one another. I went back and tried to see what was going on. It looks like two guys were having an argument and I don't know if one of them got decked, but whatever happened, it's more interesting than what's going on in the ring. Funky elbow drop and funky splits from Ernest the Cat Miller. Yeah, I don't know what he called these moves. Reno then trips when getting sent to the corner and it looked like it hurt a lot. Even the sound of it wasn't too pleasant.
So he could get the outfit. Oh, man!
That's going to leave a mark for sure. Miller performs the feliner for the pin and the win, and Reno had to go backstage to get his jaw realigned. Schiavone, Tenay, and straight shooting Stevie Ray have a wonderful time as they watch Miss Jones dance alongside Miller, and Miller brings the mood down when he says he's gonna, and I quote, eat Mike Sanders' ass like a pot of collard greens. Yeah, Mike Sanders didn't take Miller up on his offer, but clearly someone else did, and I am not surprised at all. The Canadian career killer Mike Awesome takes on Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Both Schiavone and Tenay call Mike the Canadian killer, which doesn't sound right at all. But all of Team Canada come to the ring and Lance says he warned Jim Duggan that this was going to happen. Lance told Hacksaw to walk away, but like a typical American, Duggan decided to act without thinking. Mike's bigger, stronger, and younger than Duggan. Mike calls Jim a weak old man, and Awesome tells the audience to stand up for the Canadian national anthem. As is tradition, the anthem gets interrupted. Here comes Hacksaw, and here comes a lesson in wasting as much time as humanly possible before the bell rings. Duggan panders to the audience while Team Canada stay on the outside, and by the time Mike got back in the ring, I already walked my dog, had a cup of coffee, and watched the Godfather trilogy twice. I know I probably sound really negative today, and I know ripping into WCW's taking the easy way out, but as someone who really does try to see the best in wrestling shows, this episode of Thunder has been a complete train wreck so far. I'd hate for this video to be someone's first exposure to Reliving the War because I sound like everyone else who covers WCW. Big axe handle from Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and we're back to time wasting. Jesus fucking Christ. Never mind. Skipper grabs Hacksaw's 2x4. This gives Mike the opportunity to attack from behind. Hacksaw then takes a clothesline, which is the best thing we've seen in this match so far, and after getting choked out at the ropes, Hacksaw looks like he legit doesn't know where he is. Jim then tries to walk around the ring while no-selling, but Mike isn't going to allow that, so Hacksaw gets put down with a ton of punches and kicks. Hacksaw once again no-sells, he gets to his feet, he starts shouting USA, so once again Mike's forced to retaliate, and this time it's with a low blow and a DDT. Mike sets up an awesome bomb, it gets countered with a backdrop. Hacksaw then attacks all of Team Canada, though he stops short of knocking Major Gun's block off. So Mike attacks from behind and our match ends with a top rope splash. Brutal. The post-match beatdown gets broken up when the Filthy Animals hit the ring. Team Canada run away, but K-Dog wants the boys to take a look at the Turnertron because the Canadian coach has been tagged by Konnan and company. Bit xenophobic if you ask me. Canada sucks, go home Canadians, USA rules, yeah, not nice. Mean Gene gets a word with Lance and company outside the arena and Mike can't believe his bus has been ruined. He says he spent all night on this wonderful paint job and now it's been wrecked. Lance says the Filthy Animals will pay for this isn't over by a long shot. And once again, I'm forced to side with the guys fighting against the Filthy Animals because this kind of behaviour is totally unacceptable. Bunch of little bastards. The Sarge vs Buff Bagwell, ladies and gents. There was Steamboat vs Flair, Hart vs Austin, Michaels vs Undertaker, and the Sarge vs Buff Bagwell. The only thing we can hope for is this little gnome losing his temper and a real fight breaking out, but that's asking a bit too much, I believe. He does get a little frisky at the opening bell and he screams at Bagwell to get to his feet and take more punishment. After taking a butterfly suplex, Buff gets out of the ring to avoid this little hothead. Sarge continues his attack on the outside. Buff fights back when he gets into the ring before his opponent. Sarge tries a hip toss, but it gets countered with a swinging neckbreaker, and Buff the Stuff shows off a little after a back elbow. Sarge falls victim to some chin abuse, but he manages to get his knees up when Buff tries a splash. Bruce fires up a bit when he performs that hip toss he was looking for, and Buff takes a few shots in the corner. This gets countered with an atomic drop, and after pulling off a double arm DDT, Bagwell calls out for Lex Luger. Lex begins walking down the ramp, and on the screen behind him we see Goldberg also making his way to the ring. Billy Boy gets intercepted by Chronic though, so Totally Buffed had this all figured out. Goldberg's beaten body gets put in a box. Brian Adams tells some dude to drive Billy Boy out of the arena in a forklift, so Sarge has been left all alone and Buff gets himself disqualified when he hits Sarge with a chair. Chair shots are now super serious, guys. Lex has a flashback to 1999 when he put Sarge's arm inside the chair. Both Luger and Bagwell stomp on the chair, and this means Bruce could be injured. Way hey. Backstage, Bruce says he heard something snap and he thinks his arm could be broken. How this affects the tag team match at Sin, I don't care at all. Double J, Jeff Jarrett takes on Sid Vicious in our Thunder main event. The winner goes on to Sin to compete in the main event triple threat match. And Jeff says one of two scenarios is going to take place tonight. Either Jeff's going to show he's the chosen one by beating Sid, or the second scenario is Sid getting himself a sneaky win and the big man going to the Sin pay-per-view. Jarrett wants the mystery man to consider these options and consider who he wants to face at Sin. So in other words, Jeff's admitting that Sid's a bigger threat than Jeff is himself and he wants help from the mystery man. Before the match begins, we see the Natural Born Thrillers heading back to their car, but they get surprised by DDP and Kevin Nash. The Thrillers get destroyed here, and I'm not sure why this piece of footage aired at this particular part of the show. Out comes big psychotic Sid Vicious, and Jeff's having second thoughts about this match. He tries to walk away, he ends up getting kicked right in the chest, and yeah, you deserve that. Sid stays in control as the two head down the ramp and around the ringside area. Double J gets dropped on the guardrail, but when the two get in the ring, it's Jeff who's able to briefly take the driver's seat as he kicks Big Sid and he chokes him out on the middle rope. Leapfrog body teabag from Double J, dropkick from Double J. Sid then falls victim to a top rope crossbody, and Jeff looks to end it with a sleeper hold. If we haven't fallen asleep already during this episode of Thunder, then this might be the tipping point. Sid fights out, we see a lariat from the big man, and Jarrett hits the mat again after a big boot. Sid then signals for the chokeslam as he looks to end it right now. Jeff gets out with an eye poke. Sid has some really strong eyes, so he's able to shake it off and he sets Jeff up for a powerbomb. But then the mystery man attacks from behind and it looks like this guy's taking Jarrett's advice. Or wait, maybe not. If the mystery man's attacking Sid, then this means Jarrett's been disqualified, right? This means Sid has just replaced Jeff in the Sin main event and the mystery man has actually screwed Jeff over, right? Well, no, because when the bell rings, the commentators say the match has been thrown out, so there's no clear winner or loser. We're throwing logic out the window again, folks, and we shouldn't be surprised anymore either. There's something very familiar about the way this mystery man moves in the ring though. If you've been watching WCW up until this point, you'd know exactly who this is. An exploder suplex gives it away, and yeah, it's Scotty Steiner. Scott Steiner's dressed up as the mystery man so he could attack Sid Vicious. Double J helped Steiner when they used Scott's big lead pipe to put the big man on the mat, and yeah, there's another episode of Thunder for you. I didn't think it could get any worse than last week, but this was bad, ladies and gents. Noble vs Sugar Shane was okay, the rest was either bad or really bad. I mean, just look at it on paper. Reno vs Ernest Miller, Jim Duggan vs Mike Awesome, Buff Bagwell vs Dewayne Bruce. You'd think someone was actually having a laugh when putting the show together. It's like the show was specifically made to turn people away from WCW, and at this point the company really need to do everything they can to keep what little fans they have left. The WWF are getting ready for the excitement of the Royal Rumble. WCW are farting about with a mystery man while the booking team sniffs copious amounts of glue. And people wonder why WCW went out of business in the year 2001. An absolutely terrible start to the year right here for World Championship Wrestling. But you made it through, soldier, and that means we're back to Raw vs Nitro head-to-heads next week. I'll see you all on Thursday, and thank you so much for watching. Please take care.